One question I get asked a lot is, what do good project managers do that average project managers don't? So in this video, I'd like to share a couple of thoughts about how I answer that question. How good project managers differ from average project managers is a particularly good question, because the alternative sorts of question, how do good project managers differ from poor project managers, that's just too easy. There's just too much there. In fact, in my view, the difference between average project managers and good project managers can sometimes be very subtle. It's about doing the small things. But let's address how we get to average first, because this tells us something very important about how you develop yourself and how you develop the people who work for you and with you. Getting from poor to average is largely about finding what you don't do well, figuring out what it is that you need to change and making those changes. It's about correcting mistakes. Getting from poor to average won't happen if all you do is make small tweaks. Poor is inadequate, and therefore you need to make big changes. However, getting from average or okay to good or even to excellent, that requires a different approach. If all you do is look for mistakes, you're unlikely to find very many. And if you're coaching or supervising someone who is already performing okay, then finding their mistakes is going to demotivate them and disenchant them. What you need to do to move from okay to good or to excellent is to find what they do well and help them to do it even better. It's to find the areas of good performance and help yourself help them to systematize what they're doing, make it easier so they can focus on the details that create that transformation. But let's return to the original question. How does an average project manager differ from a good project manager? And at first glance, I expect you would find that an average project manager does pretty much everything that a good project manager does. So what are the differences? And for me, the two main differences that you would notice are, firstly, that the average project manager, whilst doing everything that a good project manager does, doesn't do it all quite as well. And secondly, average project managers and good project managers will often prioritize different things. Their attention will go to different elements of their role. And that change in focus is what creates the enhanced performance that we see in a good project manager. The best project managers know that the day-to-day transactional nuts and bolts of project management are the easy parts. Developing a plan, monitoring what's going on, data gathering, controlling the work of individual people. That's all fairly straightforward and easy for an average project manager to hide in. But while you're focusing on those transactional things, you're missing out on the details which will lift your performance from average to good to excellent. So what is it that the best project managers prioritize, which the average project managers don't? And I'm going to identify two things that seem to me to be particularly important in the difference between an average project manager and a good project manager. And the first is project politics. The best project managers make it their business to get to know and to understand the politics of their project, the politics of the client organisation within which their project sits, and the wider politics that surrounds the organisation as well. They are good at asking questions and listening carefully to the answers. They're good at reading situations and understanding what's going on. Their sensitivity to people comes not because of some magical ability, but because they have been prioritising this for a period of time in their professional lives. The earlier you start focusing on the people around you and listening to them, finding out about them and starting to understand them, then the better suited you will be to dealing with the complexities of the politics we find on every project. Once you understand the objectives and the agendas and the priorities of your stakeholders, you're in a far better position to influence them. And the best project managers see influencing people as the primary part of their role. They've got to get things done, but they rarely have authority. So your ability to cajole, to enchant, to persuade, those are key to being a good project manager rather than just an average one. The second thing for me that really differentiates good above average project managers is the transition from a management mindset to a leadership mindset. The best project managers don't see themselves in a managerial role, but as in a role of leadership. And therefore they see it as their responsibility to get the very best out of the people that work with them and for them. Consequently, they spend a lot of time supporting, motivating, and encouraging their team members. And of course, that pays handsome dividends. It creates the kind of loyalty which means that in the good times, it's a pleasure to work with people. And in the tough times, people will go that extra mile to serve the project and to serve you because of their loyalty to you as their project leader. So for me, the difference between an average project manager and a good project manager boils down to communication. Communication with stakeholders, which I'm going to label as politics, and communication with your team, which I'm going to label as leadership. And if these are subjects that interest you, they are subjects too that interest me, and I've written books on each of the subjects. So do take a look in the notes below for links to my 2 books, The Influence Agenda, which is about working with stakeholders, particularly in times of change, which takes stakeholder engagement to a high level, giving you a huge number of resources that you won't find in very many places. And also Brilliant Project Leader, which takes the project management methodology and it shows how you transform that from a management mindset to a leadership mindset. Leadership across all of the stages of the project lifecycle, and also hooked around the 4 essentials of leadership in a project context. So, what is it that makes an average project manager into a good project manager? It's prioritizing and becoming adept at the politics and the leadership aspects of our role. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please do give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'll look forward to seeing you in future videos, so do hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of them.